at WLFE-DB.com for upcoming shows and so much more.
Hey everyone, it's Tuesday night again. You know what that means, don't you? It's time to join Mike and Kristie for another episode of Where's My Sage? A show hosted by a psychic medium and a guy on a quest to find Bigfoot. Who would have thought? Together, they will take you on all sorts of adventures, and not with lots of different people. Kristie even gives readings. It's time to sit back, get up and get ready. You can't sample the universe sitting down. Your hosts are waiting. Come on, let's go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Where's My Sage? I'm Mike with my co-host, Kristie. How are you this evening, Kristie?
Hello. I am well. How are you?
I'm much better this week than I was last week. We do apologize to everybody that we weren't around. That was definitely on me. One of those weeks.
For a change.
Let's go try this new vaccine. See what happens. Yeah, it didn't go so well for me.
We won't hold that one against you, though. That's okay.
No, missed our show, missed another show on Wednesday night, missed another show on Friday. Chance to get in the woods with my partner, who I haven't got out with and done any investigations with since, 2 months ago. So, hello,
right.
Paul.
Paul?
Hello, Patricia.
Oh, hi, Patricia. That's Dom's mom.
Hi, Joseph.
Mom, Dom. Hi.
Michelle, I'll call you back later. And
I'll make sure he does.
Hi, Carmela. And we are not doing a rating show this week. We have a guest this evening. Yep.
Next week.
Hi, Tanya. Yes.
Yeah.
So we will be getting back to doing those. Again, that was my fault last week. Hello, Lori. She's her and Dave. There's nothing better to listen to the Sage and crocheting on a Tuesday night.
Ah, love it. Love it.
Yeah, it was round 2. And
hi, Maureen.
An experience.
It's one of my coaches there. My coaches are watching me. Wait, I have to do this.
Yes.
There we go. See?
So it's been a crazy week. The universe has been doing some strange stuff. So somebody sent me an article on relations to possible something, bright light in the sky, UFO, whatever, local.
Something broad.
You've
narrow it down.
Yeah, well, I found the article. I'm trying to find some more things.
Nice.
So that was in a local paper. Then a buddy sent me an orb in a tree from Vermont. Then you got the American Airlines, plane. It's been a weird thing. So having our guest tonight, who this is his specialty. We don't generally go with, we follow the universe, but it's been throwing some weird stuff. Bigfoot sighting local too.
Right.
So it's just been crazy.
I know. And I'm excited because, this is the first. He's the first of his kind that we're having on the show tonight. We haven't really had anyone who just focuses on this topic and has this background. So I'm really excited. Hi.
Hello, Melody.
Oh, thank you. I try. Got to hide the grays.
I thought she was talking about my hair. Maureen.
Thank you, Maureen. See?
Hello, Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Who also, threw me into a MUFON group in this last week and a half. So this whole UFO thing, the woods, more me, but we're there. So what's going on new on your end?
Got a little bit of this, a little bit of that going on. I started this new metabolism reset program, which hopefully is going to jumpstart my fat old butt and back into shape after all this year. And so, you have these loading days. So I've had to eat between 5,000 and 7,000 calories. And I've just made it over 5,000 yesterday and today. And then you start actually the losing phase of it. Oh my God. I'm smiling really big, but I got to tell you, just the thought of the shake that's in here, and it's just a yogurt shake. It's whatever I made. You eat whatever you want for the 2 loading days. I just want to be sick. I'm so sick. My stomach hurts so bad. And Maureen and her husband are the ones that are watching me do this, or that are my coaches to do this. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. It's awful. You would think that loading up on anything you want for 2 days straight would be awesome. And then any given day, I could polish off a box of hot tamales. I could do whatever, not think twice about it, and be looking for more, which is how I got this way. And then you know what? It's like you have to do it, and you look at it and go, no, it's awful. So that's been my life for the last couple days, and So, but a couple new projects coming up. I'm excited. Unexpected. So I'm excited about that. You have some stuff coming up, and then we have some stuff going on that's planned. So fingers crossed, prayers set, everybody, because we need to get back to normal with some of this stuff. Yeah. And really get out there again. So
we gotta push the Small Town Monsters, guys. They've got 2 days left in their Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Almost the top of their goals. That's the Kickstarter for Small Town Monsters. They're going to be releasing On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Journey. I'm in that, and that will release next month. And it's going to be, I got to watch it the other day, and the cinematography was absolutely amazing.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So it's, and that wasn't even the full digital copy. That was like the before cut. Please, that was Seth Breedlove. We had him on as a guest. Small Town Monsters. They've got something coming out on the Rougarou. They've got On a Trail of UFOs, go along with tonight's theme.
Yeah.
They've got a haunting project where they're not paranormal investigators, but they're doing their first rock out on some paranormal stuff.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to see that one.
I really, I always say, guys, if you're looking for something, paranormal is.
Hey, Pam.
How I missed that, I have no clue. That's weird, but yeah. So we got some projects. I'm going to be in the woods next week. Actually, I'm going to be in the swamps next week. So
and I'm going to be in a different location next week.
Yeah, try to catch up with some folks. So keep an eye on the YouTube. Let's hit that quick. Tonight we are coming to you from another new location tonight. So we are on WLFEDB.com. And he changed the radio on me, threw me completely off. So we're on their Facebook and their YouTube tonight. We are coming to you from Kristie's business page. We're coming to you from on Facebook. We're coming to you from Where's My Sage on Facebook and YouTube. We are coming to you from Tactical Bigfoot Research on Facebook and YouTube. So you can find us on all those wonderful locations tonight, later on this evening, or first thing tomorrow morning, depending on what time we get done. It will be going up on all your favorite podcast locations. So Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Amazon. Get that Alexa, let it play. But please like, share, subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe. We're truly getting our numbers up. We got over the 1 mark, so we were able to actually, customize our name on YouTube. So please like and share. So
yeah, for sure. And please download, go back and listen, let your friends and family know, you can definitely go back and listen. But it's really helping us a great deal to have you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel and to like and download our podcasts. It's helping us to really get out there and help other people and to expand, and do what we love and be there for all of you guys. So that's important to us.
Yeah. So hi, Tommy, Micah, and Teresa. So it's really important. And then the nice thing with the YouTube, at least that really gives you an announcement if we're going live a lot quicker than Facebook does sometimes.
Yes.
So how do you become a top fan? Keep watching, keep liking, keep subscribing. That's
keep interacting.
So,
interact. Yeah.
So so we got a lot of projects coming up, and now that I've been vaccinated, Kristie did it the real way. So
the hard way as always.
We're going to be out doing a lot of things. So, hey, Nani, we've been talking. Okay. So she's on a couple other Bigfoot things. We're going to be talking about some stuff tomorrow about the Adirondacks. So, and
nice.
tribal stories up there in the Adirondack. So yeah, there's a lot of new content that we're going to be working on. So we've got anything else that I missed, or we shot?
I think we're good for right now. I think we need to bring Tom on because I think people are chomping at the bit here to talk to him.
So again, like, share, subscribe, hit those buttons, get us out there, get the word out there. Share
the broadcast now. Share it now.
Share
please.
Share it.
Yeah.
So our guest for tonight is Tom Conwell. He has been an electric technician. I'm gonna get half of this, and we're gonna bring out he with the US Navy and with Honeywell for 42 years. Honeywell Temperature Control, fire alarm security software specialist. Biomedical Engineering, is a fire alarm level 2 certified, and a Metrologist, which is the study of measurements. I almost wanted to say meteorologist there. And for me not to mess up a word, maybe I did. It was a good thing I took a nap.
Very
before,
good. So. It's it's a vaccination.
Yes, he has a wide range of expertise with a keen awareness of physics, computers, internet software, and a broad knowledge of electronics and how they intersect with the paranormal world, especially when he comes on with us and we mess up all his technology on him. Over the past 3 years, Tom has written 5 books and has created a sighting map of the U.S., which is absolutely amazing. They're based on aspects of UFOlogy. He has studied and researched UFO sighting reports from the entire U.S. and created a national sighting map, which has revealed anomalies throughout the U.S. See, I knew I went too long and mumbling here. Tom has been on numerous radio programs across the U.S., published 5 books. They are here, volume 1, 2, and 3, and they are on Amazon. I'll throw those links up a little later, and we'll drop them in the description to YouTube for those folks that are coming back to listen on one of the audio podcasts. He's assembled his blog of stories and the UFOs and how they find their way here from light years away going interstellar. He's planning on multiple speaking events, which I'm sure with wonderful COVID is really messed up. And we'll see where he's going on that. Tom's latest work involves research book attempting to determine if UFOs are attracted to earthquakes, and that is Earthquakes in UFOs. I met Tom a couple of years ago. I'm going to bring him on now. So let me close that screen and we're going to bring Tom in. I met Tom. Yeah, I move screens around. I'm moving the things, but if my eyes start to squint tonight, it's because I redid the lighting. So now I have this whole panel of lights shooting on me. Gotta get something.
He's always got excuses, Tom, doesn't he? Yeah. Welcome to the show.
So,
thank you.
So I met Tom through the Extreme Paranormal Response Team, which we were both part of with a whole bunch of crazy folks back from the coast. So, Tom, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Bored, of course, from sitting in the house. There's nothing to do, you know.
Yeah.
And I finally have an appointment for getting my vaccination. They were really behind here in the Albany area for whatever reason. I don't know, but I have my appointments now, and coming up, I'm going to be able to go back out with impunity. So that's
awesome.
what I'm looking forward to.
Good.
So we did a little bit of your background, but how did you get involved in the topics of UFOs?
Well, I was looking for something to do after I retired. I had literally nothing to do. I mean, literally. And so I thought, well, let me go out and see if I can do some paranormal investigations. That sounded like fun. And I went out on a bunch of those and found those pretty fascinating. I really didn't buy into all the stuff that people were saying or feeling or whatever else. I wasn't that type of person. I'm a numbers kind of guy. You know, I mean, if you give me a list of numbers, I'll make them add up. Okay, fine. But to feel something that isn't there, that wasn't me. Then I've always been interested in the UFO field, always. when I was a little kid, my aunt, my mother's sister, was the secretary of the Astronomical League of America. So I went to various conferences with her, met a whole lot of people, and it really piqued my interest in the cosmos. And I guess from then, I've always thought that it would be kind of unintelligent to say that we we're alone in the universe, and the things that people were seeing in the sky. It was illogical for me to think that everybody that was seeing things in the sky were mistaken. That just wasn't logical to me.
Mhm.
So I got myself into ufology, and the first thing I did was I sat down and started writing blogs about my interest in UFOs and trying to explain away how perhaps a UFO would get here, or I also looked at the possibility of how we could get there and what kind of physics we would have to solve, what kind of problems we would have to solve, and taking the physics, the hard stuff, and putting it into common terms so that everybody could everybody could understand what would be necessary for a
Mhm.
UFO to be up in the sky, and conversely, to get people interested. So that's where I started. Worked on all those blogs, and eventually those blogs became part of a book, Going Interstellar. So
What kind of
um,
things did you focus on with those blogs? What was the whole point of the blogs for you?
well, I took each little aspect of what a UFO does or must do in order to stay in the sky, and try to break it down into simple physics and um, things like my dog's on my lap here.
How cute.
uh, Things like how they may go about hovering, why or what would be necessary for them to sit at hovering and then take off at 10,000 miles an hour without building up speed. So I looked at every little aspect that I possibly could, um, and wrote about it.
Very interesting.
Yeah, was fun. Was fun.
Yeah.
Um, then as I got into paranormal investigation, I had my first paranormal experience, um, and that lit a fire. Something, something, something inside of me told me that there's a whole lot more going on that I was actually giving credence to. So I became. She's driving me nuts.
Oh.
I became very interested in the psychic stuff, and where that could possibly be coming from. And
Hmm.
it finally opened my mind to a whole lot of other things. Um,
Do you
and
mind sharing your paranormal experience with us? Tell
uh,
us about that.
well, there were a few. One of the
Huh.
ones that I found the most interesting was we were at a um, Shaker heritage site, and we had been investigating there on and off for approximately, I guess, about 9 months. But we had been there a lot, and they had all kinds of buildings. Well, anyhow, we had a seance that night, and that made me kind of interested. I mean, I just sat back and watched what everybody was doing, and there were quite a few feelings that people expressed. Well, that night, later on, I was in the upstairs attic for the main meeting center, and I was sitting there with the team psychic, and we were asking questions. We're just sitting in the dark looking out, and he said to me, "Do you see this?" And right in front of him, actually between he and I, there's about a basketball, maybe a little bit more, maybe a medicine ball size ball of light, I guess. And it was just sitting there. And the inside of this basketball thing, it looked like, it's the best way I could describe it. It looked like a lava lamp, with like smush going around on the inside. It was really interesting. And this thing was in front of us for almost 6 minutes.
That's a long time.
Yeah, just right there. And so I took a cue from the psychic, who was telling me that these were the people that he was communicating with before, that the one guy was holding the 2 other people there, trapping them there, and that he was responsible for a murder. And I was sitting there quietly just listening to this, and I don't know why I did it, but something gave me the idea that I should start jumping in with questions and asking him that, if he was that person, if he has been there for years, when he died, if he was responsible for the murder and whatever else. And this thing all of a sudden got 3 times brighter, and then disappeared. So I still couldn't explain what the heck I was seeing. I mean, I had no idea. It's the first thing I had ever seen, and couldn't explain it a bit. I mean, it's there in my mind, but I have no words for it. Believe me.
Oh, I believe you.
The other thing that I saw was at one of our investigations. I got there before the team did, and I walked up to the lady who owned the building, and we were talking, and then she said, she turned and said to her daughter, who was sitting across the way, "Will you go up to the 2nd floor, because I left my purse up there, and go up and get it for me?" And I said, "Well, why don't you have that guy get it? He's like right there. He just walked across." And she said, "Tom, I'm alone in the building." No, you're not.
What? No, you're not.
Oh, no. There was someone there. And that night, what I thought was so interesting, because I was so tuned into the electronics portion, is I went and got a mail meter, and I walked in the same path that this person happened to walk in my field of vision. And in that path, there was very high EMF. Outside of the path, there was no EMF. Okay. I just thought that was Very, very.
Now, with your background in HVAC and the other technical background, did you look for any of that stuff running through that area that would have caused that disturbance?
Nothing could have caught. You mean as far as the EMF I was finding?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I did a sweep of the whole building, and there was nothing anywhere except on that straight line that described what I saw. I couldn't explain it. I went downstairs, looked for wiring underneath the floor, whatever else, and no, nothing there.
You're hitting all of Mike's boxes. You're checking them all
Well,
off. That's good.
When I started doing my first investigations, Tom and I were with the team with Steve and Michelle Wagner and
Awesome.
Stacy and Tom's
Yeah.
son Tim. So I mean, there was
Wow.
knowing that group. I mean, that's how everybody thinks
yeah.
is more of a tech. Not
Right.
everything that goes bump in the night. It's like, okay, let's tear the building apart from the the anchor stone to the the cornerstone to the top, and where's the electric, where's the whatever, because that's how these guys, that's how I learned, because I learned from these guys.
Right. And that's a nice balance there too, because you can check all those boxes and then you can balance it out with the gifted people who are there, and then debunk and then look into the things that are, that's good. It's important to be balanced like that, and have those people.
Yeah. Well, those are the two things that got me going. Knowing that there's something other than just the physical, the 3D world that we all see, grew up with. And that got me started on a path that eventually, when I went into earthquakes and UFOs, my most recent book, I went on a complete tangent and found something that I never expected to find. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. And I have the cover up. I have all the graphics that you sent me as well. So when you're ready, just let me know which ones, we can pop them up.
Okay.
So have you had your own UFO sighting?
Yes. 4 times.
4 times.
4 times. Yep. The first ones I saw, my wife called my attention to it. I was in the back room. I was probably watching a baseball game, and she told me to go outside and look up. So I did, and I saw this ball of light. It was actually a ball of flame that was going through the sky, and it disappeared behind a cloud. And it was bright. Let me tell you, it was multiple times brighter than the moon. I mean, it was really bright, and it looked like a ball of fire. Do you guys remember a Nerf ball? Take a Nerf ball and light it on, soak it in alcohol and light it on fire and throw it in the air. That's what I saw. I mean, it was unbelievable. So I eventually worked my way back out to the front because my wife said, "Here comes another one." So I went running out front, and there were 2 more coming through the sky from the north to the south. They were actually traversing the Hudson River. They're actually going right down the Hudson River. And they were about 2,000 feet in the air, I would estimate. And they came through in a group of 2, and they got to a certain point in the sky, and they angled upward. So I thought that was interesting. And then they disappeared out behind a cloud. So I really didn't have anything to say about that. I've never seen anything like that. So I stood out there for a while, and lo and behold, here comes another one. It went across the sky to the same point in the sky, angled upward, and disappeared behind a cloud. Oh, okay. Now, why are they all following the same path, and about 10 minutes apart? So I am trying to put things in my mind, trying to understand what was going on. And lo and behold, here comes two more. And by this point, I could tell the general direction they were all coming from, because they were all going on the same path, same point in the sky. They angled upward and disappeared behind clouds. So I was watching where they were coming from. And I remember saying to myself, I am not going to blink until these things show up again. And lo and behold, they popped on from a black sky. Pop, pop, there they were, super bright, across the sky, same point in the sky, angled upward and disappeared.
How long was it, though? How long?
You mean for each group to go across the sky?
How long did you have to keep your eyes open? You said you kept your eyes open. You weren't going to blink to try to see how this happened. So how long was it?
It seemed like about 3 or 4 minutes.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it really was. I was starting to hurt.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Now, how long ago was this?
2013.
2013, okay.
Yep. And it was about that point at which I knew that I was starting to see things differently than I ever did before. I was really open to a lot of stuff. I never thought I was ever going to be open to anything, but it started happening then. Well, anyhow, a little bit later on, I saw another one of those orange balls of fire up in the sky that was up a whole lot higher in the sky, going in a completely different direction. I saw that the next night. At that point, I was writing my first book, and I utilized the sightings that I saw and put them in the first book in like the first couple of words. Okay. And the whole description. So I wrote the first book, and then I started writing my second book about the central United States. The first book was about the eastern U.S. So I started writing about the central U.S. and I started having, for lack of a better word, almost like somebody was waking me up in the early morning hours and telling me stuff, because there was a whole lot of things that did not seem to be the way I think. So it was like somebody was telling me things that they wanted me to do. And among those things was, in addition to the book, I should be doing a map so that people could see what I was seeing, and describe to them where the anomalies are and things like that. Am I going to put the map up? That would be excellent. Okay. Now this map, what I did was I took this US map. It's a 30 inches by 50 inches. Okay. So this is a really big map. And I bought a whole bunch of small pins from Amazon. And I was starting to take the database from the National UFO Reporting Center and put that into varying groups. Now, there are about 50 different things seen in the sky based on the National UFO Reporting Center. But I couldn't put 50 different types of pins on the map. I just couldn't do it. So what I did was I took the sightings of things that were similar that people saw, and I lumped them together in groupings. So I made 7 groupings of different things that people were seeing. And when I started putting them on the map, I realized that the map was going to be filled with pins because there were still so many sightings. So I picked the 3 largest groups, which happen to be fireball, spheres, and triangles, and I just put those on the map. And remember, what you're seeing is just 3 out of the 7 groups for a period of 2011 through 2016. So I started putting those on and realized that there were some areas where there was just so many pins that it was going outside of the area, and it wasn't making sense anymore. Such as New York City, there were so many pins that the actual pins, if I put them on the map, would extend from Maine to Virginia. Well, I couldn't have that, especially if I'm saying these sightings are just in New York. So what I did was I found bigger pins, and these bigger pins, see, one of the best places to see them. If you know where Dallas, Texas is, take a look at Dallas and you'll see a bunch of big pins there, yellows and blacks, and there's 2 big red ones. So if you look at those are all big pins, and I put those in there because the big pins equal 20 little pins. So if there are 20 sightings, the big pin, I could replace it with just 1.
Wow.
I did that through the entire United States until I got to the West Coast. And on the West Coast, there were thousands more sightings. So I couldn't put big pins, say, for instance, in a place like Seattle. I couldn't just use the big pins because there were so many big pins that it just stuck way out into never land. So I had to make another group. I put 3 different colors, and of these 3 different colors, I said, of the sightings that are out there in Seattle and Phoenix and Los Angeles and San Francisco, those big pins equal 100 little pins. So
wow.
the amount of sightings here, it's just beyond belief. And that's
Michael?
only 3
Yeah.
of, my goodness, it's going nuts on me.
Right?
Wow.
That's worse than our reading shows.
Yeah.
Like, we expect the energy to, mess with us during a reading show, but not during. Wow.
I no clue.
Okay.
Apologize, Tom.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know what happened.
Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
still do. So anyhow,
So you were saying?
I use that map as a way to investigate where there were collections of sightings where there wasn't, for instance, a large population. In, let's say, Denver and Boulder area, it's filled with big pins. If you go north of that, up into Fort Collins, they're all little pins. But there's so many of them that it doesn't make sense for that. There we go. It doesn't make sense for that to be. There we go. Oh boy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now he's getting fancy.
Could you go up a little bit? Up.
Yep.
Scroll up. Up. Right. Almost getting there. Straight up.
Right. Straight up.
Straight up. Right there. Stop. Okay. All right. If you see Denver Boulder, you see they're all great big pins. Directly above that, there's a whole bunch of little pins and a ton of sightings. For Fort Collins, that is a whole lot more than I would have expected to see. So I called that an anomaly. All right. Down below that is Colorado Springs. And below that is another group called Pueblo.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why would you not necessarily expect to see sightings there?
Because there's not that big a population. compared to other
Okay.
cities around.
Okay.
Some of the other cities around, now they have a couple of pins in them. Look
Okay.
down into New Mexico, and there's some cities there that aren't any bigger than Pueblo or Fort Collins, and you see like, well, maybe 8 or 10 little things. That's what I expected to see. There were 4 times that many. So that's why I knew that there was something really interesting going on. Some of the other areas are Connecticut, Western North Carolina. In Western North Carolina, this area is, okay, stop right there. Okay.
Yep.
This area is just filled with little pins, just filled. And this is up in the mountains. There's not a whole lot of towns there.
Wow.
And it's filled because there's a lot of talk about an underground UFO base there, a base in the mountains, little people. There's talk about all kinds of things, and it's because of that in North Carolina, well, that's a major anomaly. Then we have to the southeast of that, and we have Myrtle Beach. There's a lot of really big pins there because of the sightings that are seen out in the ocean every night almost. And they're just loaded out there.
Do you find that there's a correlation with water?
Yeah.
And these sightings?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
The ocean seems to be an area where these things will congregate. Also in larger lakes, in and around larger lakes. For instance, if we were to go up from there to the Great Lakes.
So, yep, we're going to head there. There is a question from the comments. I'm going to pull that. There are a couple questions from the comments. Hey, Tim, did you click that or I
already did. Yeah, you did. I couldn't let that one pass.
No.
So, Roberta's wondering, do you find a correlation with military bases?
Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. In and around military bases, you'll see a congregation of sightings. Now, say, for instance, in upstate New York, which we're looking at now, there's a Army base there, and there's not a whole lot of UFO sightings. If you find an Air Force base, there's one up in Plattsburgh. In Plattsburgh area, there's a bunch of sightings, but also the Plattsburgh area has Lake Champlain, and there's been large craft and small craft seen going in and out of Lake Champlain. Not to mention
Ness or Champ and Bigfoot.
Yep. And the major lakes, Lake Ontario, Erie, Huron, Michigan, and Lake Superior, there are sightings all over the place with ships going in and out of the water. And if you'll notice right on that picture, in Michigan, it's filled with sightings because of ships coming out of the water and going over the land and being reported by people. So yeah, there's a whole lot going on, and this got my interest as I was writing the books, as I was doing the maps, and caused me to write about them. And it made a book about the central U.S. and the western U.S. About 3 times the size of the first one that I did. And then I had to go back and redo the first one with all the new information that I was gleaming.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I was just going to say there's another question, too, from Sandy.
Yep. Oh, you beat me to it. Okay.
Of course I did.
You're getting better at this. I don't know what you need me for anymore.
Listen, I learned, though, because usually when I'm trying to be helpful, I screw something up majorly. So I just thought, well, you got a lot going on.
I have the map still up so we can keep going back to it, so you can see the question. We can see you over a question. That's my biggest pet peeve is covering up my guest with a with a comment.
Don't worry, Tim. He'll keep up. Well, maybe if we're lucky.
Maybe.
So Sandy
He's a
wants to
psychic.
know.
He can figure it out.
You and I need to talk. So Sandy wants to know if you ever thought you've been taken by a UFO. Have you been abducted, taken?
I would have said about 2 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. No, there's nothing in my history. And I had an opportunity to interview about 35 different people who said that they were abducted, and just to find out what their stories were, and try to understand what they went through, so that if I were to write about it later, I would have at least a basic understanding. And I got pretty familiar with, I hate to call it the routine, but everybody was saying somewhat the same kinds of things, people that were taken. And none of those seemed to ring true with me, except for one particular event. I was waking up early one morning, probably about 4:30 or whatever, and turned over and thought, gee, no, maybe I can get to sleep again, and turned over on my side, and the next thing I knew, it seemed like I was out walking in the woods. This was a total waking dream. I mean, it was as real as could be, because I could feel the leaves under my feet and everything. So I'm out walking in the woods, and I come around the corner, and there was a spaceship with people sitting, one person sitting outside of the ship, who claimed that they were made out of light.
So they looked like people?
Yep, full outline of a person, bright as could be. I couldn't look at him. I mean, he was made out of light. No other way to say it. And
sounds like a conversation we had earlier tonight. You know who I'm talking to. He's in the comments. I know he's here.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So, he said he needed my help for something, and he wanted me to go on his ship and lend my energy to his partner who was not feeling well. And if I could do that, it would cure him. I mean, this is a dream, right? It didn't make any sense to me. So I went onto a ship, and this ship was egg-shaped, and it wasn't particularly big. Yet when I went inside of it, it was like freaking massive. I mean, as far as I could see, I couldn't see the end of the ship. It was really something. So I went into the ship and stood next to this guy, and he said, thank you. Well, I assume it's a he, said thank you, and perhaps we'll see you again some other time. And they allowed me to get out, and the next thing I knew, boom, I woke up in bed. And I never considered that an abduction experience until somebody said to me about 2 weeks ago. This was a psychic medium that I'm very good friends with, who said to me several weeks ago, "You sound like you were taken, and that's what they made you believe." I mean, is it true?
Okay.
I don't know.
Because it's funny, as a medium, that's the whole time, that story, it's almost like a combination between, that story is, and I don't believe you, your experience is like a crossover between an abduction and a paranormal experience or interaction.
Yep.
And very real to you. Absolutely. And that's funny, because I was trying to pinpoint and see what I was picking up on while you were describing this. And that's exactly it. It's like a combination of the two things, because you're the first one that I've ever heard say that you were asked to use your energy to do something, because normally what you hear, and not always, but normally, at least what I've always heard, was they are looking to test or experiment with you
Break out the rubber
because
glove.
not the other way around, like they know more than we do. And so that's very interesting to me.
Yeah,
And that they were made out of light is the other thing.
yeah. Whoa, that was weird. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. Um, I haven't seen anything like that since. Haven't thought about it, and it was just very interesting to me.
Well, here's another one from up your area. Nani is down here. Have you seen? She's seen 3 UFOs over Saratoga Lake.
That doesn't surprise me. They're seen over lakes a lot. A lot of times they're seen taking water out of lakes. Yep.
And then Sandy had another comment. Is it speculated that's what's causing the brown mountain lights in North Carolina? So that's going to go back to when we were down in that cluster, that military, probably that the UFO base. I think that was about the time the comment came in.
Okay. I don't remember hearing it called brown mountain lights. But definitely lights are seen in the sky persistently in the mountains of Western North Carolina. If that's what she's referring to, then probably it's the same.
Well, I guess I can cross that off and look this week. Michelle, guess what you're doing Friday?
Wait a minute. Yeah. Sandy made a comment. He should have checked to see if his feet were dirty.
Yeah,
That's the first thing I looked at. It was so real. I thought maybe that I had leaves attached to my feet. My feet were not dirty, but my feet were damp.
Sweat? Who knows? Any other markings? Any other dirt? Anything out of the ordinary? Nothing?
Nope.
Oh. And just because I looked in Pennsylvania a minute ago, and Brian's there. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Brianna's
on here.
Yep.
Hi, Brianna. Thank you for watching.
Technical difficulties that I have. I got to turn this here. So I'm screaming in here and just realized because I can't hear myself talk here. He's heard that water is used for energy and fuel. And then he had another question on they're popping in here. Any thoughts on pyramids in Antarctica connected to alien activity? Folks, please like, share, subscribe, and hit those like buttons. Get the word out for us, please.
Just like my daughter saying, "See, Mom, look, I subscribed like you asked me to."
So your thoughts on Antarctica? Ooh.
Okay. Well, first of all, the first question was about the use of water as fuel.
Yep. So I'll go back up to that.
That is one of the things that we are considering here when we go to the moon and perhaps go to Mars. We're going to possibly be able to extract hydrogen or something like that from water. These guys are, in my opinion, way beyond that. And I believe that what they do is they get their energy out of the quantum world.
So why do you think that they're way beyond using the water for the hydrogen and things like that? What makes you think they're beyond that?
Okay. Because when you use water, you need the water and convert that water into hydrogen or convert it from deuterium into the varying OH and H properties that would be there. And that's more along the line, even though that's advanced from what we're doing right now. That's very low tech as far as the aliens would go, because they have to create so much energy to be able to open portals that they're not going to do that by harvesting water. It's just not enough power, not near enough. But if they're able to tap into the quantum world, then the power is absolutely unlimited.
I was just going to say, because if they really are made of light and they needed your energy, just like me as a medium, right? And I'm sure you've heard your other medium friends talk about this, psychic friends talk about it, use the use of the energy. Water is a conductor. Water is a big conductor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at your locations. You've done paranormal investigations. How close are they to streams, under aqueducts, all that other wonderful stuff?
So maybe they're not using it for what we think they're using it for, or not only.
One of them had water diverted directly beneath a church, a deconsecrated church. There was some interesting activity in there.
Really?
The other one, there was a stream that went by outside of the building that ran alongside the building. And there was some good activity in that one, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
what was the second question by Brian?
So Brian's second one was any thoughts on pyramids in the Antarctic alien activity? And
okay. I would not be surprised if there were multiple pyramids in Antarctica, and that during the time that there were great changes on the Earth and the Earth's crust started moving all over the place, I think that Antarctica was probably occupied until it found its way at the South Pole, and then nobody wanted to be there anymore. But I would not be surprised if there was all kinds of things going on in Antarctica that we don't know about yet.
Sure.
All right, we are at the 9 o'clock hour, so we have to play. There it
is. There's the mic we know and love.
Yeah. What happens when I get up at 4 to go to work? And
whatever. Stop whining.
But we're gonna play a quick commercial. We are gonna come back. Jennifer's got a question. Sandy definitely, went back to your damp feet or dead giveaway to go back to her comment up above. So please, while we're out there, like, share, subscribe, and I'm going to come back. Put your comments in the question mark. And remember, we're coming to you tonight from Kristie London Medium, her page on Facebook. Where's My Sage on Facebook and YouTube. WLFEDB.com on Facebook and YouTube. Tactical Bigfoot Research on Facebook and YouTube. And, of course, Where's My Sage? So here's our little quick commercial.
WLFE.
Maybe. Hello. Why is it
Michael?
It's not playing.
WLFE-DB.com, where you can find vodcast shows, podcasts, and more like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Paratalk Radio, Just Cindy, and more. So go check out WLFE-DB.com, where talk radio is a whole lot better. Our shows are your shows, and that there makes for a great talk radio.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area, 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Ted Van Son Jr. is a seasoned investigator and well-versed in the ways of paranormal investigation. He is now ready to share his ideas and unique approach with all of you. Flashlight, recorder, and comfortable shoes. Hit the ground running as you follow this easy step-by-step guide to a fun and thorough paranormal investigation, perfect for first-time and lightly seasoned investigators. Think outside the paranormal box. Learn all about the technology and techniques used back in the early days of paranormal investigation. You can find these valuable resources online at Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Amazon. Get yours today.
Hi, I'm Jenna Grover. In the world of fashion, we get lost in the cost. Everyone wants that special piece of quality jewelry, but they can't afford it. Not on my watch. I sell handmade quality jewelry for a fraction of the price, and that includes jewelry made of sea glass, natural stone, crystal beads, glass beads, Bigfoot jewelry, and more. If you don't see what you want, email me, because I make custom jewelry too. Check out my website at gbythesea.com. Also, you can email me at jewelry@gbythesea.com.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
How many podcasts I do a week besides ours, and I can't get the buttons to work tonight. Bludowski put something up here. The UFO or whatever, I guess it was in our local newspaper. They're chalking up to a meteor over the Great Lakes. So that's kind of interesting. That's something we brought up at the beginning of the article. There was a local sighting of stuff. We've got some other questions in here. One that kind of hits my realm. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, let me make a comment about that. When asteroids enter the Earth's atmosphere, they then become meteors. They enter the Earth's atmosphere at between 30 and 60,000 miles per hour. Almost all of the time, as they traverse through the atmosphere, from the point of view of the person seeing it, they're moving in a straight line. And every so often, they will change direction if they hit it in such a way as they skip off the Earth's atmosphere. Then they'll hit and skip upward and back out into space. They'll do one of those two things. Another thing that they may do is if they create enough heat, they will explode. At that point, they become bolides. And when a meteor hits the Earth, whether it's an exploded bolide or not, that becomes a meteorite. So that's just some of the terminology.
That's really cool. Like I said, when we originally put this show together, it's a taste of the universe, because UFOs have been something, we have our friend Leonard that's done that, but we kind of went way away from the alien UFO thing. We had Stacy on from Fringe with Benefits and Naked and Afraid. Stacy's actually up in the comments there a couple weeks ago. We really slightly touched on the alien end of things. But there's always this question, because my faithful Bigfoot fans, do you think there's a correlation between Bigfoot and UFOs?
Okay, if you had asked me that when I first started in ufology, that would have been about 11 years ago, I would have said, absolutely not. That's nonsense. Go back home. I don't think that anymore. I've seen too many really weird things that I'm not about to dismiss the fact or the possibility that a Bigfoot may indeed be interdimensional or perhaps even possibly controlled by an extraterrestrial race.
Okay. I'm still the thing, you find UFOs near cattle mutilations. So are they just cattle that parachute didn't work,
As far as those cattle mutilations go, the mutilations are so perfect that it's not very likely that they're done by a wolf or done by guys or anything else, that they're many times so perfect that you have to consider the extraterrestrial question. So
I was hoping this guy was going to jump on with us tonight. and then Dave's got a thing in here. He kind of brought up Joe Rogan's and Travis Walton. So Dave actually was with the same crew that did some stuff with Travis Walton. Did you done any research on his abduction at all?
No, and I'm going to leave that to Travis.
Okay.
He's the best spokesperson there. If I were to try to reinvent the wheel, that would just be fruitless. Because he's a very good spokesperson, and we'll let his words stand on their own.
Okay. Let's see. That was there. Again, guys, if you have any questions for Tom, please put them in the comments. And I'm very happy that we've got a real active audience tonight. Brian's got another one. Any thoughts on the Nazis having alien technology, and if that's why they were so advanced for the time period, and thoughts on the Nazi bell?
Okay. I don't have any firsthand knowledge of that. Okay. However, I would not be surprised that the Nazis were looking very hard to try to find extraterrestrial help, or even to steal some of their technologies. I don't think they got very far with it. So I didn't put a whole lot of credence into that. That der Glocke, or the bell. I don't know. I don't really buy it. So I not only do I not have an opinion, I don't particularly buy that they were able to jump into a different dimension or whatever the deal was. I'm not so sure of that.
Okay. David said, thanks, David. If I know you have contacts with Travis, if you could get him for us, that'd be great. You got my contact information. We'd love to talk to him about his experience, and maybe we can get Tom to give us a hand. Yeah, I've been to a couple meetings locally. My neighbor down the street does local UFO meetup and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. She did some interviews with him and stuff. It was kind of an interesting presentation. So the next one.
Who was that? Was that Cookie?
No, no, but I just joined Cookie's group.
Okay, that's good.
Kristie actually is with Crypto. It's yep. I can.
Mike, you need to have sticky notes surrounding you like I do.
Everything,
I got them all over the place, all different colors, all different.
I will look at my email and I can picture her face in it.
Give him hell, Cookie.
Yeah, no, it's not Cookie, but it's a friend of hers. But we'll get Nick's thing while I pull up my question. So, Nick, if you look at some of the big paranormal events involving UFOs, Bigfoot sightings, and animal mutilations, ghostly encounters, etc., there's seen some connection between them. And have you noticed a lot of that in your research when you're doing things?
Yeah, I have a theory around that. It's not a law. It's not for sure, but I have some thoughts. I believe that UFOs are utilizing some of the dimensions that we can't particularly visualize, and they're utilizing those dimensions to travel great distances. Now, ghosts and possibly even Bigfoot comes out of those same dimensions. Maybe not exactly the same dimension, but from that area. So I believe that the UFO traveling from their multiple light years away to our location is creating a wake, so to speak, that they are as they travel towards us, just like a boat would travel towards us. If you look very closely in front of the boat, there's a little wake that comes out from the boat, and I believe that's what may be happening, that is creating some of our UFO sightings, some of our Bigfoot sightings, and some of our interdimensional interactions. So that's just my thoughts in that regard.
So you've talked about, and maybe I just misunderstood your point with the Nazis then when you answered the question earlier. You seem to definitely believe or think that there is a way to jump dimensions, open up and close portals, that kind of thing. Why do you not think the Nazis could have been involved in something like that, or been doing that? Or are you just talking about that particular era or time?
They did not have technology, so they would have had to have done some serious stuff with aliens themselves who helped them be able to jump dimensions. And I don't believe that the aliens would have ever been a party to that.
So do you think that, so I guess for what I'm hearing you say then is you think ghosts or spirits also get the help of technology to be able to do that? Kind of going back to what we talked about in the beginning with, using our own personal energy that doesn't require technology.
Okay. Let's see, how do I describe this? There's a veil, so to speak, between the spirit world and our world. Only some people are tuned enough into that to be able to jump that veil. And I guess the point I was trying to make with aliens is that when they utilize the jumping of dimensions, I would not be surprised that they're stirring things up in and around this veil area, making things easier to go from different dimensions to us, so that we're seeing things that we wouldn't normally see, or vice versa, for us to go into other dimensions. So
interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that we are doing all this on our own, or that the Great Awakening is causing very much of that. Although I do believe that some of it is happening, and some people are.
So you believe then
awakened.
Spirit? Well, okay, that I definitely agree with. So
Yeah.
So are you saying then that you think that the veil is universal, no matter who or what we're dealing with? So when we die and we cross over, so to speak, we all kind of go into that dimension along with Bigfoot, aliens, whoever else. So you think it's like a universal kind of a thing?
It's not one place. I think they're. Think about it as not rooms, because there's trillions of spirits. Think about it
like
as
different levels.
Either levels of these other dimensions, or possibly even areas where people can reside from those other dimensions. And I think that they're close to figuring out by close to figuring out, I'm referring to the people who have who are in the process of transcending. These people are close to figuring out where things are, and boy, this is really tough with the words, because there's no
I
words
get
for
it. I understand what I know, because that's
like
why I was curious to know.
Bad file cabinet with different folders in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's because then, as from the medium perspective, I also then say to you could also throw in the whole idea of parallel lives.
Of what?
Parallel lives, that we all live parallel lives. So there are different versions of ourselves, of our spirit, living parallel lives as we speak. And it's said that if one of those lives is out of whack, it affects all of the other ones.
No.
So it's almost like you can go into different dimensions with that too. And that's a whole nother 10 shows, but I like, that's how I'm connecting with everything you're saying.
Well,
Very interesting.
Is it possible? Absolutely. Yes, it's all possible. And until I just came real close to finishing my last book, I would have said that I'll never realize what's going on. But now I think I'm close to ascending into something else that I never expected to.
Interesting choice of words. I like that.
Okay. That's wow.
You okay?
Got a couple of follow-ups. I got a couple of follow-ups. No, I'm watching the chat, and this is one of our better chats where the questions are really popping out. Mm-hmm. Mary Grace is who runs the. You met Mary Grace at
yes, Jonna to the rescue.
Yep. Well, I was pulling my email and she beat me to it. And I figured she'd beat me to it.
I much prefer. I think it's much funnier when she whips stuff at you.
Yeah. Or Sons of Doberman in after me, but the Winter Parafest, which unfortunately we didn't have, which would have been this week, so we would have seen Mary Grace this week.
Rub it in.
Yeah. So Brian, some theories that the Nazi Bell was what crashed in Kecksburg, yeah, and I should know that one. Going back, Small Town Monsters has a whole big thing on it with the Chestnut Ridge. And it was a time travel device. Now, when you think about it, I mean, that was a weird eggcorn bell-shaped object.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
The only thing that bothers me about that is that the one that was seen had all this alien writing on it. Now, why would the Nazis have had a bell with alien writing on it? Unless they were given it. Because they weren't nearly advanced enough to be able to do this on their own, even with a little bit of help. Because you figure this was 70 years ago. I mean, right now we can't even do this. So how the hell did they do it? That's why I'm thinking it's less likely than I would normally give credence to.
So not ancient technology then, where it's in Sumerian or something else and actual different language. So let's go down to our next one. Of course, Nani's saying that the believe our government knows more than they're saying, which
that's an understatement.
Yeah, that's you guys want to see something really interesting. There's a great movie, and again, that's going to bounce back my head there. It's the Phenomenon that a buddy of mine helped do the cinematography for. And they've got multiple senators saying, call this number to get them. And actually that last COVID relief bill, I think it was like page 500 and something. There was a whole thing for money for, releasing that stuff. Have you seen that, Tom? That little article about them having to release, or the section of the COVID bill to release the,
yes.
Oh my gosh, Craig was all over that.
Yeah. And is it possible that they would just say, they'll release probably 100,000 documents, but the ones that are really important to them won't even see the light of day.
Let's see. Going back. So Nick had an experience back when he was in high school. And Micah, Tom mentioned the UFO people need our water. Now we've got a little bit of a language barrier. She's coming to us from Netherlands, correct? Yeah. And it really has been a long day. It gives her goosebumps because when I was in high school, I followed lessons in French language and wrote fantasy stories exactly the same thing and won a contest. That's kind of an interesting.
And you get major points for saying her name correctly tonight, too. You know
that. I butcher it every week. It's probably why she stopped watching us,
I'll teach him.
So we went over the gate levels. Again, from Jennifer, Native Americans were taught there are many dimensions. And Nick
Okay.
definitely likes your theories. And I was just going to say, it's time to hit your books there before.
Put up the
Yep.
second, the one that has all of them, and I'll talk
Yep.
about this particular one.
They are here.
Go. Actually, we're going to go with this. Worked much better this last time around. It
Are you
didn't kill
sure?
it didn't kill the computer.
There we go. There we go.
So I'm going to kill
Excellent.
my brand and get it out of the way. No, I can leave the brand up there. That works.
They Are Here, Volume 2. I was doing a bunch of research, and I was listing Native American tribes that could potentially have been an influence in our past. And when I came across this particular Native American tribe, I saw at the same time a Facebook friend who had said that she just came back from a Native American meetup, and so I got in contact with her on Facebook and asked if I could do an interview. This interview was conducted with Cheryl Lynn Carter. Do you know Cheryl?
I do not.
No? Okay. Well, she's definitely a psychic out of the Michigan area. And she's also Native American. And I started doing research into asking her questions because I was going to be a phone deal. And I found out that the tribe that she was a part of was I've just forgotten the name of it, but anyhow, they were part of the Algonquin tribe, if I'm not mistaken, and this Algonquin tribe had interplay with people from underwater, and these groups of people would come to them and teach them things about writing and society, and how they could grow things, and things along this line. Then I also came across a Native American prophecy. It's called the Seven Fires Prophecy, and this prophecy was that the Algonquin tribe were breaking up into other small tribes, and the one group that was leaving from where the Algonquins lived, which happened to be eastern Canada, north of Maine, let's say, and they were going to travel to their new land, and their new land happened to be on the other side of the big lakes, which was northern, central northern Michigan, Wisconsin, and part of Minnesota. And this Seven Fires prophecy, each particular fire was a different prophecy, such that they were going to be guided by varying things that they would see along the way. And each one of these was part of that prophecy. When you get to the seventh fire indicated that the Native Americans were going to have to follow their teachings and learn the ways of the land again, and that if they didn't, that the earth would undergo a massive reset, that they would be taken up into their craft and returned back to the earth after the reset occurred. Now, you can use your imagination think of what the reset may be. And it was probably not either a major flood or an ice age or something. And she confirmed to me that she was taught that as a child. She was taught the seven fires prophecy, and that she believed that if the Native Americans didn't make the right choice, and the white people who settled didn't make the right choice, that they were all going to be part of this massive reset. It was very interesting. That happens to be the very end of my volume 2, and it was so upsetting that I wasn't right for weeks after reading this prophecy and having it explained by Cheryl. It was really something beyond belief.
What bothered you so much about it? Like what was it that really struck you?
I guess
That really hit you?
what bothered me the most was that I found it on my own. And then when I confronted Cheryl with the Seven Fires prophecy, she knew all about it and confirmed everything.
Yeah. It sounds like your intuition had kicked in. That's why I'm curious. You know,
Yeah.
the first time I saw the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose years ago when that came out, I left that theater crying and terrified because that was the first time something had ever struck a chord with me in such a way that I knew that kind of thing was real. And why that particular story and that particular event, I don't know. But it's almost like when when your guides and, want you to know something, and when it's your time, the universe, however you see it, wants you to know something, or you need to know or have it in your face, it's there. And it's very unnerving, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, there's something I forgot to mention before. I mentioned seeing UFOs 2 different times, and the third and fourth time, it just so happens I was ready to finish my book and send it in for publication, and I remember sitting outside and looking up in the sky and said, guys, you showed me a bunch of your ships the first time, and I put it in my book in the very beginning. I would love if you showed me your ships again. Well, within a day or two, myself and my wife went on a trip to New Hampshire, and I was standing out on the overlook there, right outside of our room, and looking up in the sky, and said, well, now would be a good time to show me yourself. And within probably 2 minutes, I saw an enormous red flash in the sky, and out of the middle of this came this white streak that took off as fast as anything I've ever seen in a perfectly straight line. Not like you shoot a gun and you see the trajectory of the bullet going up and then down. It didn't do that. It went straight out. And so that was with my my second book. I was able to put that sighting in book 2. Well, my last sighting happened to be just prior to me sending in volume 3, and it happened the morning that I was supposed to be sending the thing in. I was driving to work, and I drove across the Hudson River, and I was just about ready to turn left so I could get down onto the interstate. And I saw out in the distance a super bright red light. And what I thought initially it was the top of of a tower. You know how you see a red light on top of a tower? That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
But then it occurred to me that I've never seen a tower there before. Well, just before I was ready to turn left and go down onto the interstate, this thing came at me faster than just about anything I've ever seen, and came within some very short distance, probably a couple of feet, of hitting my windshield, and took off at a 45-degree angle upward.
Wow. It seems to me like the universe was trying to really help you notice things, open up, you know, and it really knew when you needed it, and you know how the timing was such that you were able to do your part in telling the story and delivering the messages, which is important.
Yep. And the same thing happened with earthquakes and UFOs. Although it wasn't a sighting, this was, how would I describe it? It was almost like somebody woke me up in the early morning to tell me something. And that's what happened at the very conclusion of earthquakes and UFOs.
Very interesting.
Very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Very
I've got
weird.
your slideshow going here.
Well, it's good publicity. That's okay.
So, tell us about earthquakes and UFOs.
Okay. I set out to prove that the earthquakes that had occurred were attracting a lot of UFOs. And I had a huge database right in front of me, and went to the earthquakes, mapped all the earthquakes where they were. And then I went in and mapped the sightings of where the UFOs were sighted at that particular date. And then I realized I didn't have a whole lot of information. So I added 2 days before and 2 days after, thinking that, well, these guys are pretty advanced. Maybe they are able to determine when earthquakes are going to happen. So I did the 2 days before and 2 days after, and then I mapped that. I found very little information that told me that UFOs were attracted to major earthquakes. So I thought, well, maybe there's something else going on. So instead of just tracking the UFO sightings around where the earthquakes occurred, I put them across the whole US. And for several days before, 2 days before, the day of, and 2 days after. And there were 23 major earthquakes during the time frame that I looked. So I looked at all these sightings, all these reports. I made a map out of each one of them, and each map, by the way, is part of the book. So you see my research live as you're going through the book. And I saw nothing in the way of UFOs being attracted to earthquakes, being attracted to earthquake faults, being attracted to anything in particular. Just a bunch of random sightings across the U.S. I knew something was there, but I didn't know what. So what I did was I put everything away in a drawer and gave myself about a month, and then revisited it again, thinking that, well, maybe with fresh eyes, I'll see something different. And I looking and looking and looking, and I saw nothing. No correlations, no anything. So I had done probably 6 months worth of research and had nothing to show for it. So one night I set my maps out one after the other on a table, the big, long, wide table, just set them out one after another, and thought that, well, maybe as I was going by during the day, I wanted to grab something and grab a drink, I'd go take a quick look at the maps or whatever. So one night, I was looking at the maps and nothing was hitting me. So my dog was barking. So I got up and let her out and went back to look at the maps. And as I was walking up to where the maps were, I found that the maps were sitting as if I was looking across the country from the west to the east. Okay, picture that map you had up before. You're looking west to east instead of, generally you always look north to south when you look at a map. Okay, well, these I was looking west to east, and I was looking down a whole string of the maps. As I was looking down the maps, I saw something that I never expected to see. I saw probably about 18 out of 20 maps had straight line sightings on them. And then let that percolate in your mind a little bit. I'm looking west to east, and I saw straight lines across where people were reporting the UFOs.
Really?
Now, why would that happen?
Fault line.
I had nothing. I mean, I nothing at all. So so again, I took my maps and I put them away, and some of the things that I thought of along during the next couple of months was that if I were an extraterrestrial civilization, I would probably have some extremely good computers. And then if I were going back and forth looking at something like the geography or water or minerals or something, I already would have had plenty of time to map this, because they've been here for thousands of years. They would have had all the time in the world to map this, and all they need to do is go back in their hard drives and look up any map they want. So why in the world would they find it necessary to go back and forth across the US at the same time? Boy, I had nothing until one morning at about 3 a.m. I woke up and thought, I'm wondering if they're looking for something that we can't quantify. In other words, the extraterrestrials typically are a very psychic people, and what might they be going back and forth across the country? What's changing psychically for them? Well, at the same time, I was recognizing that I was starting to become more familiar about learning the higher routines of psychic power. So I asked a bunch of my friends who were, incidentally, they were from ranging from psychics to empaths to I maybe even got a couple of paranormal investigators in there, but generally people who would think of things in a higher realm. And I asked them the question, what does ascending mean to you? Maybe them going back and forth across the country, they can sense what level of ascendancy that we are at. Hate to end the sentence in at, but okay, you get the idea.
I do. Yeah, I
yeah.
understand what you're saying.
What in the world could they possibly be doing? So I asked these 16 people, what does ascendancy mean to you? And I got 16 pretty good answers. And I realized that they probably were going back and forth across the country, seeing what level we've advanced to, determining is this the time that they should announce themselves to us. That's what I found in this book that was totally unexpected, way beyond the realm of anything that I've ever been to before. And I swear something is going on.
So it's pretty easy to go to like the USGS, and I can't really, I think I can't use it without permission and everything in the middle of the broadcast. But
yeah.
You can go to their map anytime and kind of look and see what's out there in your own time if you want to go take a look at for dates and everything else. I use it daily to see, catastrophes in the world or something like that. And
Yep.
Did you notice when you were looking at your sightings any mineral deposits or anything like that would specific minerals that would pop up besides the water when you were looking at these sightings?
Well, among other things, is I got a long list of maps that I created and copied and put in the book. Among those lists were fault lines. There's a whole map of what the U.S. fault lines, U.S. rivers and major lakes, mountain ranges, major magnetic anomalies under the ground, active and inactive volcanoes, mineral resources and mines. I saw a map from David Paulides about people that were taken in the U.S. and how that relates to forestry. The sighting anomalies that I created on the maps, Bigfoot maps, reports of giants seen, and government underground tunnels. And I put all those maps in my book too, so that you can look at the research for yourself. And I just thought that maybe there was some way that I could equate the UFO sighting reports to something else that was going on. Nothing made sense as far as every single area that I saw with my UFO sighting map and all of the other maps that I cited on anomalies. Nothing there that was consistent.
I would love to see those maps layered on one on top of the other and see what the strongest concentration is, and just go sit in the woods with all the parent. Yep.
There it is. There you go.
All those maps, one after another, after another, after another.
But print them out and just drop them, and just see what that one pin is, and then take all the physics equipment and all the thermal cams and just drop in for an afternoon, or
I did not quite that, but I tried to lay the maps on top of each other, hold them up to the sun, bright lights, and see what I could see from one to the other. And there's a couple of maps that I mentioned in there with the anomalies are close to matching up with the things seen on these maps, but none of them match up 100%.
Are they? Do you have a cave system map on top in there as well?
What's that map?
Do you have a cave system map in there as well?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know I think in David's research he'd used the caves with the national parks, which were kind of interesting that they popped in with the missing persons in those areas, and then I know most of the Bigfoot. Oh, we lost. Did you pull them out of there?
I grazed over by accident. Sorry.
Can you see it?
I didn't do that.
Yep.
Yeah, there's the missing persons in the caves.
Wow.
One on top of the other. Yeah, it's wow. This was a tough one. But I swear that when I got to the end of the book, I found something that I never expected to see. That I caught them going back and forth across the country, judging whether we had ascended to a high enough level that it's enough for disclosure.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We got a couple of more comments from the from the comments. And so the chat room. There we go. It's almost bedtime. What about the differences in magnetic field? Did you find any significance in magnetic field? And I've got to follow up on that when you're done with that.
There were some areas where the magnetic field was larger than other areas. One of the areas I found to be very unique was in Catalina Island off of Los Angeles. It's been rumored that there's a underwater UFO base there with an entry under the water. And there was a rather large area of magnetism in that area also. And some of the other areas that I found that had large amounts of magnetism corresponded to the mountains, which is where I expected to see them. And the areas that did not have large mountains, but had a whole lot of cities and towns, they had very little magnetism. So I couldn't say, oh yeah, this is the map that makes the most sense, because there were too many areas that didn't cross over. And I found out with most maps that there were areas that didn't cross over. I just didn't find the right map yet.
Well, Catalina Island's interesting because there's giant stories from Catalina Island, so that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Have you used being in the Hudson Valley, have you used a Geiger counter when you've gone to locations, or have you looked at your maps when you're out traveling to see? I know you've been up to our area for different conferences and stuff, and there's quite a bit of sightings. One of my guys and I went out in different locations or spiritual locations. So we've gone out and seen higher Geiger counter readings and other physics apps that we've used. Have you used any of that with your research?
No, I haven't. What I did was I primarily went in to the database from the National UFO Reporting Center and worked strictly on the data. I did not go out and do my own research, because I realized that if I did that in like the Hudson Valley, what about all the other areas? I wouldn't do one little tiny piece of land and not have a. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we'll circle around. Nick said, seeing the map, I can't but think the numerous amount of UFO sightings we've had here living in Chicago, Illinois, in addition to the UFO sightings, we had Mothman sightings, which are later become the paranormal, to the paranormal locals is the Chicago Phantom, which is kind of interesting. And that's something I'm working on, tying in some things with that Mothman. And we got to get Dave back on for that. And the paranormal kind of, so that one ties in. Have you find a lot of those Mothman type cryptids when you're looking at your research with the UFOs? Because that's going to kind of pop into another question that came in from Brian. And that's probably going to go similar to the Kentucky Goblins. And then I'm working on something in native lore here that kind of goes to that whole Mothman thing as well. So have you found a humanoid-like creature with any of this research that kind of pops up?
No, I would have to go into the Native American sightings, findings, before I came up with anything like that. The database does not include stuff like that. If there happened to have been a Bigfoot sighting in a particular area, it wouldn't be on the UFO database. So it was very difficult for me to get a Bigfoot sighting and try to put that in the same context as a UFO sighting. I got when I have the Bigfoot map, I got that from BFRO, and just copied their map.
Okay.
Now the other things, the other kind of cryptids, again, I would not have seen that from the National UFO Reporting Center database.
Okay.
If somebody asks me a question, I may start looking at it, but I never looked on my own.
Yeah, I think some of the original Mothman or the Chicago cryptid was coming up in the MUFON database. If I remember with Lon Strickler looking at a lot of that stuff, that was in one of Seth's things actually just recently that they're tearing her skies did a whole thing. So that's cool. So where's your next adventure going to take you?
Wow. Well, of course, right now I don't have anything planned because nobody's planning anything. I mean, I'm just sitting here. My next book should be really interesting. It's going to be about global warming. Now, what's that have to do with UFOs? Well, in the communications that I did with people who told me their stories about abductions, I asked each and every one of them in the very beginning, did you get a message? Did you get a message that you can share with us? And I received, from the 35 people that I interviewed, I got 10 responses. And all 10 messages said the same thing. Same thing. That was, take care of your planet. No other message. Take care of your planet. Nothing else. So that has always stuck in my mind. And I think what I'm probably going to do is to write with that in mind and try to narrow in my thoughts about global warming and why I think that we're heading toward a tipping point that's not going to be particularly good.
It's very interesting. We had Greg Walter on the Ridge Walkers, another author in the last couple of months. And, his specialty for his writing is on, Bigfoot, more of it was a sci-fi fantasy, but he does a lot of stuff up in the Pacific Northwest. And that's kind of where everything aimed him as well, as to that preservation of nature. And I apologize for my gang barking in the background. But that's when we started doing the Bigfoot journey on my end. And it was another thing. It was really, the stories are the protector of the forest. So is most of the stuff in the universe, just saying, hey, nature's done and we're going to, protect everything, is this nature's way of saying we stay inside. We need to clean the universe up a little bit with this whole COVID, baloney, 2 hours. And that was the first time tonight that I muted myself. So how much of that actually came across and how much was muted? I saw something today that there was a college professor went 2 hours on his presentation, muted the entire time. And none of his students told him. I'm like, oh man, you gotta love this technology. So, again, I think I got to the point of, that this whole stuff is coming full circle. Did you guys hear what I said about Geiger? Did that totally go over the top? So
no, I heard everything.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, I hit the mute button. So again, first time tonight that I locked myself up, but we're at the 2 hour mark, and wow, Tom, I really appreciate where you're going, and I think there's a lot more. We might have to back on when you have the other book out, so we can really circle back around to a lot of this stuff. And I would really like to take a look at those maps and drop what you've got with your UFOs, and the other maps, and of course our cryptid stuff, and look at the native history and see what creatures are in that area. Thank God it's not worldwide, because that's a lot of maps to look at. But,
crazy.
Yeah, I loved it. It was very informative, very interesting, and I really could relate to a lot of your perspective and your opinions and your research, and why you feel the way you do and the way you look at things, and it just makes sense. And I think I love the idea and the fact that you're not so one-sided, that you're open to the fact that it's not a one-dimensional kind of a thing that we're dealing with, no matter what that means.
If you talked to me 10 years ago, I would have been.
Yeah.
It's been just within the last 5 years, all of a sudden, everything is different for me.
That's great. That's wonderful. Growth and ascension. That's the whole goal for all of us, right?
Yeah. And, it's thank you for, giving us our first real introduction to the topic. I guess there's one last question before I completely forget. What is your favorite piece of video evidence that's out there, or picture evidence that's out there right now, that you would say, that's what I believe is a UFO?
Wow. I did. Probably one of the ones that hasn't been seen yet. I kind of like the videos that were done by the Navy pilots, but they're kind of crappy. I think they have some that are just so incredible that it would it'd set your hair on fire. Those are the ones I really want to see.
Awesome.
Interesting. Very, very nice. I loved it. Love to have you back on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was great. Hang out in the background for us, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Wow, that was great. Thanks, folks, for being with us. Please, again, like, share, subscribe, get the word out for us. We're trying to grow. We can. Over the next couple of weeks, drop us some comments or send us some messages. Who else you'd like us to see? Or if you know somebody that's, got a really special, look on things, let us know and we'll look into them. For sure. Dave, we got some good folks coming in. Maybe we do need to get Lon on and talk about, the flying cryptoid. We're friends Facebook. We've done a couple of conferences together. So Anything else from you, Kristie London, before we sign out?
Please continue to subscribe, like, and share, and just really help us get out there, share this and spread the word to your family and friends. And if you have anything that you need help with, investigations, anything like that, give us a call, and we will definitely be happy to look into things for you too. Any ideas for shows, any place you want to see us investigate, let us know. For sure.
We got some big stuff, big investigations coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do a business plug for my partner. Guys, she's back at it again. We've been through all this crazy stuff. If you're looking for those private readings, reach out to Kristie through her business page. So she'll never do it on her own. So I have to give it that plug. So from all of us on,
My sage. What?
Nick, reach out to me. I know we're friends on Facebook. He's doing a Mothman thing.
Interesting.
Cool. So from all of us here at the two of us here at WLFE and Where's My Sage? And, where's my buttons? Been a long day.
You have a wonderful night.
Thank God tomorrow's Friday. So for me, all right. Stay safe.
And
do not want to play tonight. Are you?